Hello and welcome. Hi, everybody. Massage of the week. Why you can't get shoulder pain relief. Welcome. It's Jason Barlow, RMT, and I'm here today as your therapist and as your coach to help you transform your stress, your tension, and your pain. Today, I'm centering in on shoulder pain. So classically, for over 20 years in my profession, I would say number one pain that I deal with is back pain. Number two would be neck pain, and a very close third would be shoulder pain. Now, especially when I'd worked in a CrossFit facility in my local town, I saw more shoulder pain than I'd probably ever seen before. Was CrossFit the issue? The big debate is still out there. Here's my experience. So if you have any underlying postural dysfunction, that is bad posture, and things aren't aligned well, it doesn't matter whether it's CrossFit or going out intense downhill mountain biking or going out and playing hockey or playing football or rugby or soccer. Choose what you wish. That doesn't matter so much as what's underlying when you go perform at a high intensity, and especially if you've not been preparing your body before you go do that, things are going to very quickly come to the surface. Now, that's the nature of CrossFit. It's high, very functional movements, but high intensity and highly varied. I saw a lot of people jump the gun too quickly to try and raise the weights, and they didn't have that mobility in the shoulder. They didn't have that range of motion in their spine and their neck and so forth. And due to their daily postures, which I talk about in my book, remember, it's the postural debt in particular, it gets quickly exposed, and we find our weaknesses very quickly with something like CrossFit. I'm a big fan of CrossFit. I think it's one of the most wonderful tools out there. You just have to gauge where you're currently at and use the right sequence of mobility and stretching and corrective exercises to support what you love to do with CrossFit. Don't jump ahead too soon and try and match yourself to somebody who's been doing this for 10 years. You go and look at any high level, Olympic level, especially Olympic lifters, weightlifting. They take meticulous amounts of time, and we're talking months and years to develop the right pattern of catching it in what we call a power clean, for example. That's just one of the movements in CrossFit. And they've taken weeks, months, and years to get the right range of motion, the right catch position, the right wrist position. They've had a coach giving them constant feedback, and they've got video tools going on. So why do we think we can go out and do what some of these elite level athletes are doing in a very short time span? What I'm encouraging you to do is just listen to your body. Always listen to your body. Your body knows better than anybody else out there. Listen to it, follow it, use your own guidelines, and be sensible about how you take this on. Now, jumping back to shoulder pain focus. Down below in the comments and description of this video, I've actually shared with you a YouTube link. I pieced that together. It's actually sharing with you one of my favorite massages for this muscle along the front of the arm. We call it the biceps brachii. Now, for those of you watching live right now, maybe even catching me later, I'm trying something different today. So bear with me as I do this. I'm just going to nudge this across a little bit. And what I'm doing, see if that works. Hey, it does work. Pretty cool technology. Love it. Okay, so what you can see now on the display is the bicep muscle itself. So this yellow band, that's the biceps muscle. You can see that it's attaching down here in the forearm. If I turn that, you can see better. So this white portion at the bottom, here, this is the tendon. And this tendon is one point of attachment at the base of the biceps. And then as the muscle's traveling up the upper arm, you can see there's actually two portions. There's what we call the medial and lateral, or I think the other names they often use is the short head and the long head. So this long head in particular is the one that I tend to treat more often than not. This long head, you can see that its tendon runs up here into this groove into your arm known as the bicipital groove. Now that groove houses the tendon. But just imagine that you're a small vehicle traveling through a large tunnel. Now, that's kind of the normal, I'll say healthy, gliding ability, if you will, of that tendon within that channel, the bicipital groove. But now imagine you've got an overloaded, oversized truck that will not quite fit in that tunnel and you're trying to drive through it. That's the same as what happens when this muscle gets overused and the tendon thickens and it swells. And as a result, it expands, but it can only expand so much before it gets wedged in between the overlying fascia and other muscles and this groove or tunnel that we're talking about. So you can appreciate if that's swelling, but it's got nowhere to swell to, it's going to develop pressure, and it's going over time, if it's left unaddressed, to develop what we call as tendinitis. It appears in my clinic when I go to push on this muscle or the tendon and we get to engage that biceps, it's really highly flared up. There's immediate pain, and basically they release their contraction of the biceps. They just can't sustain it. So if it's hard for them to sustain a contraction when I'm pushing with my thumb on it, can you imagine if you're trying to go with 200 pounds overhead? That tendon's not going to like it. This is a very valuable muscle that we need to really appreciate its foundations of anatomy and its importance around the health of the shoulder. Because what I want you to picture now, if you look at this anatomy chart again, this other tendon is attaching onto the scapula, and this one's attaching into this glenoid portion of also the scapula. So essentially this muscle attaches onto the scapula or the shoulder blade, the front portion of it. So if that muscle is short and tight, guess what it's going to do? It's going to lever on that scapula, which means it's going to pull the scapula forward. So for those of you that have just been watching live, you can see visually what's going on with respect to this muscle, its position. Now, for those of you listening, the biceps muscle runs along the front of the upper arm. Its tendon runs from the forearm to the scapula, which is the shoulder blade. So when this muscle shortens and tightens due to typical postures, right? Think about what you spend most of your day doing. We're either using the mouse and we're typing on the computer, we're handwriting, we're on our devices, we're on iPads, we're reading. We're extensively using this muscle all day, every day. The only time it really gets to release is maybe when we're sleeping, but unless we're taking the time to stretch it and massage it ourselves, it's not getting that full restoration of length that it needs for optimal healing. So what I'm trying to share with you here is that the leverage point of this bicep muscle will highly influence the position of your shoulder blade. As soon as you influence the position of your shoulder blade, other muscles around this region start to shorten and tighten as well. These includes the pectoral muscles. It includes the latissimus dorsi muscle coming from the lower back. It also includes the upper trapezius. So commonly with somebody with a tendon issue or a biceps issue going on, we usually see this presentation of the shoulder rounded forward and coupled with that, what we call a forward head posture. So if you want to address your posture, we need to encourage you to get to releasing the tension in this muscle. Because until you do, so long as you're stretching the neck and the lats and the pecs, great. But until you're releasing this bicep muscle, there's only so much that you can actually achieve for repositioning the scapula or the shoulder blade and helping offload the pressure that you might currently be experiencing in that middle and upper back. So today's video that I'm sharing with you below in the comments or the description, is actually a YouTube video I created this morning. And it shows you how to massage your biceps muscle. And think about any massage that you may have had up to this point. It feels good generally, right? Some might argue if you come and see Jay, not so much, but I'm a whole lot of love behind what I do because I understand the value of deep pressure through the muscle. Now, when you're at home, I recommend working to that 6 to 8 pressure range, 10 being maximum. 9, 10 is where I go as a therapist just because of my anatomy, my understanding, my feedback from the body, and all my years of experience. So at home, I just recommend 6 to 8 by way of pressure range. And generally speaking, even myself, we won't go at the 9, 10 anyway. We'll back off way before that. But you come and see a therapist, myself included, when I go see my therapist, I will tolerate way more pressure from my therapist than I would if I was doing it to myself. It's an interesting paradox that we experience. The bottom line, though, you need to be working and releasing the buildup of tension in this biceps. Why? Because it's significantly influencing your postural debt. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you found that of benefit. I highly recommend, if you want to learn more about postural debt, go to get my resource here. It's a free digital download, the 15-step playbook for pain relief. If you just go to my website, jasonbarlowrmt.com, from there you can leave me your email. I'll fire off a digital copy to you. If you want to have this physical copy, then go to Amazon and just put in the 15-step playbook for pain relief. I've made this bite-sized. I've tried to condense 20 years of my experience and giving you materials that relate to what I call the 4 controllables. So those 4 controls are your mindset, your physical body, your food, and your rest and recovery. Those are things that well within your sphere of control. Before you even go and see a therapist, before you even go and see a doctor, digest this and try what I'm sharing here. It's 15 steps. So that's 3 for each of those areas. And I've given you a bonus 3 because I talk about stretching and I talk about moving, and that's in the physical portion. But mindset, incredibly valuable. I put that first in my book. Why? Because for me, my experiences, that's absolutely critical. It's the foundation to you achieving more health, happiness, and vitality. And if you want to get rid of that stress, tension, and pain, we got to deal with those unpleasant feelings, and that's all coming from your mindset. So get a chance, go download that copy, and I look forward to interacting with you more. Thank you for joining me if you came on live. If you're watching this later, thank you for watching. Please share if you found benefit. If you found benefit, then maybe your friends, maybe your neighbors, maybe your family members, maybe somebody else you know will benefit from this material. Please share it with them. And please go check out that YouTube link below, and hopefully you get some great results from that. If you do, great, share with me. I want to know what people are getting by way of responses to what I'm putting out there. And remember, your muscle health is my #1 priority. Take care. We'll see you guys on Thursday.